Hi, good morning, friends. Happy Friday. Today is a good day. Um, today, I'm looking outside and it's a bit more cold and rainy here in Minnesota than in the last previous days. And while I really enjoyed the sunshine, there is a certain, comfort to having a cold, rainy day. Um, as warm inside here in the house, and so I'm just going to enjoy this day and enjoy it for what it has to offer, and use it as a time to really be in a lot of these practices of meditation and solitude and creativity. Um, these cold, rainy days, especially, I enjoy days for creative projects, drawing, sketching, planning, and then taking a lot of those creative plans and starting to execute them in the days ahead. So I hope all of you are doing well. I hope that these morning reflections on our inner freedom. Right now, we happen to be talking about the aspect of our human freedom, inner freedom, which is our creative imagination. I hope this has been inspirational, and I'm even imagining, like, what are your creative projects? What are those creative projects that all of you are in, and keeping you moving forward and positive. So today, we're going to be exploring one of the chapter 5, which is recovering a sense of possibility, and just going to share with you a few topics there that really landed on me, and I'm really motivated and inspired to share, which are on limits, the limits that we place on ourselves, in many cases unnecessary limits. Talk a little bit about the virtue trap that we can get stuck in as creative people, and then a task of, how can we start to open up our possibility. There are a number of tasks in this particular book, but I just wanted to share one called the wish list. So let's start to unpack some of these topics here, and then prepare for our morning meditation together. I see Colleen is on. Good morning, Colleen. So hopefully we'll have some others join live and we can share the experience together. So the first one is limits. She said, every time I read this or listen to her, I'm inspired by her words that say that when we tap into our creativity, we're in the spiritual position of having an unlimited bank account in terms of our creativity, and it's often us that puts limits on ourselves and won't allow us to accept this infinite or unlimited source of creativity. And so I think that's really power always challenges me to say that it's with regard to creativity, that it's my mindset, my openness, that determines what actually comes in. And if I can stay in an open state, then I can continue to receive that inspiration, that creativity, and keep moving forward and keep self-generating. So I thought that was really powerful. She also said we are often, until we shift our thinking, we're often miserly in what we accept in terms of creativity and inspiration. And that's why those basic practices that we're exploring, the basic tools of creative recovery and art, that we do on a weekly and daily basis, which is writing our morning pages, to help us unblock and break up the often the sludge of our negative or restrictive thinking, and taking in a weekly artist date, and doing something that inspires us or fills the well of our creativity, our inspiration, and then even taking those daily artist walks where we're walking with intention. We're not just exercising, but we're walking with intention, and we're taking those creative intentions, or those maybe we have an inspired image of something we want to create, and then we're actually holding that image and walking, so we start to connect movement to the image to help us actually to move in to action more easily, rather than letting our mind start to enumerate all the reasons why it won't work. And then pretty soon our creative project goes from given or possible, and we talk ourselves back to impossible. So those practices, the artist practices, are really critical in my experience to keep that mindset of unlimited creativity. And as we build that unlimited creativity, then even when our choices, our liberty is being restricted, socially or in the external world, we have this vast space that we can traverse and travel in our inner state of freedom, which is really powerful, and builds a tremendous amount of resilience. So those are my thoughts and my reflections on limits, and how we can continue to create an unlimited source of inspiration and creativity. So I see Kathy has joined, and Henrietta's on right now. So good morning, Henrietta. Good morning, Kathy. And good morning, Slavko. I see Slavko's watching. So let's start to explore the second topic here. I also see Darlene. Good morning, Darlene. Is something else that blocks us from our sense of possibility. And today is all about recovering a sense of possibility. And as recovering creative people, whether you're a declared artist or you're just tapping into your personal creativity in art. The other thing is the virtue trap. And I thought this was very insightful the first time I read it, and each time I read it, it reinforces this for me, so I'd like to share it with all of you. This is also, she goes at length in chapter 5 on this, which is, withdrawal, retreat or withdrawal is really important for creativity to blossom, for our artistic expression to come to fruition. So we can't just be always producing and getting things done. We need to take times of retreat, times of withdrawal to fill the well of our creativity. And creativity is often it's sporadic. There are bursts of creativity, and then times to collect ourselves, fill the well of creativity, and then come back out with our next creative project, our next creative idea. And so what she talks about when she talks about the virtue trap, she's really talking about how sometimes as recovering creative people, we will often deprive ourselves of the retreat or the solitude that we need in order to fill the well, as though it's a virtue, as though we are sacrificing for something else or someone else. And eventually it is kind of a self-defeating prophecy, because if we don't fill the well, eventually we start to get withdrawn, sullen, and those causes or those people that we want to serve and empower, we end up not showing up as our best, and actually they suffer when we don't take the time to create the solitude and retreat that we need to fill the well of our creativity. And so I just thought that was great that she just called out, had a name for it, a virtue trap, and to check ourselves. And I thought how beautifully that fit into our centering practice at the beginning of our meditation, when we, one of the things that we're practicing is, we're practicing with, we're practicing here, feeling ourselves, and then extending out to others, and we're trying to, in that self-awareness, that somatic practice, we're trying to intentionally cultivate this felt sense of taking care of our own needs while extending out and taking care of others. And as she talks about the virtue trap, one way to see this is that when we start depriving ourselves of the solitude and the retreat that we need to build our creativity, one way to see that is we're extending out to others, and all our attention is out on others and contributing, and we no longer can feel ourselves. We're not taking care of ourselves. We've lost the felt sense of our own body because all our attention is projected outward, is one way to understand that. And so so today, that's one way to just in our minds hold, is as we do that centering practice in width before meditation, perhaps one thing we could do is remember the virtue trap. As we start here and we feel into ourselves, just remember the virtue trap. Yeah, I need to take time for retreat, for solitude, to fill the well of my creativity, and then and build it from there. So those are some ideas for all of us to keep building that sense of possibility as we build our creativity, build our creative imagination. And our very last, but one of the tasks, there are many great tasks to build our sense of possibility, but one is the wish list. I really like this. It's simply a list of wishes that we may have not allowed ourselves to open up to. And I'll read some of these in the book here. I thought they were very nice. It says, one of the best ways we can evade our inner censor is to use a technique of speed writing, because wishes are just wishes. They are not allowed they are allowed to be frivolous, and frequently should be taken very seriously. As quickly as you can, finish the following phrases, and then it's simply 18 writing prompts that say I wish, and then it's first thought, best thought, without any filter, without any censor. And then finally, the 19th one is I most especially wish, and then whatever comes to your mind, you write it down. And when we really start to take the filter off of that inner critic, inner censor, the inner parent, whatever you want to call it, that starts to say, well, that's not practical, or that won't work. When we start to really just go first thought, best thought, we start to tie into what really brings us to life, and we start to really tap into our creativity. So that's my hope, is that all of us engage today in some practice that takes off that inner censor, that inner filter, and that inner critic, and allows us to open up to what we really are longing for, we really are desiring. And perhaps that might turn into a creative project that could really benefit our families, our communities, our country, or the world. You just never know until you take the filter off. Give yourself permission to speak it, to imagine it, and see if it starts to naturally move into a process of planning to bring it into reality. So those are my reflections on Chapter 5, Recovering a Sense of Possibility. And tomorrow at 7 a.m. We'll be covering Chapter 6 on recovering a sense of abundance. So that's will be the topic for tomorrow. So let's begin here with our centering practice. So just bringing your attention to your mood. Notice what your mood is right now. And bring your attention to the most dominant sensation that you're feeling right now. For me, I feel my mood is hopeful, and the most dominant sensation right now is I feel a felt sense of heaviness in my body. And again, we're meeting our mood and our sensations without judgment, without attachment or resistance. We're just taking it as information coming into our system. And then let's begin by relaxing our eyes. So softening your eyes, relaxing your jaw and chin, relaxing your neck. We can bring our shoulders up and drop them. Good. And shoulders up. And dropping down. Opening up your chest. Relaxing your diaphragm. Relaxing your belly. Relaxing the muscles in your hips, pelvic bowl muscles, your thighs, your knees, your shins, calves and feet and toes. So continuing to just create some space, creating space in your body, allowing yourself to feel more. We're building that capacity for self-awareness. And then let's begin by either standing or sitting. Begin by start to center into your length. So from top to bottom, we're both straightening and settling. As we begin to straighten and settle, really feeling into our length, feeling into this somatic shape, and feeling ourselves as a bridge between heaven and earth. Bringing your attention slowly to your width now. So left hand on heart center, right hand on your belly. So bringing attention to self here. How are we taking care of ourselves? And bringing our attention back to perhaps this practice can remind us to be vigilant around the virtue trap, that we want to make sure that we're bringing attention to and taking care of ourselves as the source to continue to take care of others. So, and then starting to extend out, and extending out to perhaps someone else in the room. Extending out here, maybe extending out through the window to something that's living, like a tree. So extending out to some other living thing. We're extending there. And then reaching out a little further, bringing into our attention someone who's not here, someone who we care about. Just imagine them in a circle here, all standing together. And for me, I'm imagining all of you live right now that are sharing this time. I'm imagining all of you standing here. which is a great imagery. And creating balance, a balance between self and others. Good. And then bringing your arms down, starting to feel into depth here. So we're just, our somatic depth, leaning back and leaning forward. As we lean into our back, we're starting to bring our attention to our history, all the experiences that have shaped us. And as we're leaning in forward, we're leaning into and imagining our future, who we're becoming, the trajectory of this day, this week, the rest of this month, wherever that is. So we're feeling into our depth and slowly just finding a center point between the space in front of us and the space behind us. And as we find that effortlessness in sitting here or standing here, is just allow ourselves to feel that effortlessness that we found as the felt sense of the present moment. We can take our hand and bring attention and energy to our right hand. In other words, feel the temperature of it. Mine feels warm. Feel the shape of your hand. Place it right below your navel. And just as you feel your hand on your belly, on the surface of your skin, allow yourself to drop your attention, out of the thinking self and dropping into the feeling self, where we're able to sense mood and sensation. Now let's take 3 deep breaths here. So deep breath in and exhale. Deep breath in and exhale. And one more breath, inhale and exhale. And just taking a moment to feel. Taking a moment to feel here. I invite you to slowly begin to close your eyes and start to enter that inner space. As we begin our meditation here this morning, again, if you feel the impulse to sit longer than this 1 minute, then continue to do so and just pass on my prompt to close at the end, at the final bell, final chime. And let's again enter with the words of the poet David White. Enough. These words are enough. If not these words, this breath. If not this breath, this sitting here. This opening to the life we have refused again and again. Until now. Until now. Enough. These words are enough. If not these words, then this breath. If not this breath, this sitting here. This opening to the life we have refused again and again. Until now. Until now. And as we close our practice today, remind yourself again, for the sake of what? And then very slowly and very gently begin to move your arms and legs. And very slowly and very gently begin to open your eyes and let the outside world come back in again. Take a moment to recognize your mood right now and notice if that's shifted since the very beginning. And be curious about possibility, how by taking some time for solitude, retreat today can build that inner well that all of us need to fill in order to bring our optimism and our creativity into the world. And then tomorrow, again at 7 a.m., we'll convene again at 7 a.m. and we'll be exploring recovering a sense of abundance as we recover our creative imagination and ultimately build our inner freedom. I post this at the end of every written post on this when I post the recording, but I think it's powerful to mention from time to time that this entire morning series is really all inspired by that Viktor Frankl quote, which is, between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. In that space lies our ability to choose our response. And it is in those choices that lie our growth and our freedom. And to go a little further beyond the quote is what exists in that growth and freedom are those 4 unique human capacities for self-awareness, creative imagination, independent will and the ability to take skillful action, and the development of our conscience. And so it's powerful to realize that each morning as we take time to be in these meditation practices, these self-awareness practices, these creative practices, that we're cultivating and expanding more and more of our inner freedom to take more inspired action. So thank you all for creating this community this morning, and I'm touched by the response and the community created. So may we all have a creative day. May we all move ourselves from things that initially seem impossible to possible to probable, and then move them into action and make them happen in this world that needs inspired creativity and action now more than ever. So bye for now, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye.